Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Man's World podcast. And today's episode, we're going to go through some news clips, headlines, and different things that have been circling the internet and give our reaction and response to them and really try to tell people how you could learn from these and what to, pay attention to when you see certain things like this so that you can get some benefit from it, not just entertainment. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or any other like news stories or feeds or whatever that you want to share with us, post the links in the comments or message us or email us at emailamansworld at gmail.com. I'll put that at the bottom of the screen right now so you guys can see that. So let's get right into it. We're gonna have a quick show today, but we're gonna try to cover a lot of ground. So let me share my screen. Okay. What's the first one we want to do? Hold on. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay. I don't know. I think it's this one. Yes. A window. All right, let me know when you can see that. Oh, okay. There it goes. Pops up right there. Okay, I'm going to play this video. And we're just right there. It says, since when did statistics become racist? If one race exhibits higher levels of involvement in crime, that isn't racist. That is a fact.
Positive. I don't want to say that sometimes.
Can you hear that?
He says, since when did statistics become
Are you
racist?
muted?
If one race...
Let me see if I could turn this up. Okay, I got that. I'll go back.
Positive. I don't want to say that sometimes. This young lady says, since when did statistics become racist? If one race exhibit higher levels of involvement in crime, that isn't racist. It's fact.
Yeah, it's really low on my end.
More. So let's talk about this fucking savage race of people that commit these crimes. Because white crime is America's silent epidemic. White people commit 85% of drunk driving arrests, killing 10,000 Americans every year. White men commit 96% of school shootings, killing our children and terrorizing our children and giving them PTSD for the rest of their lives. And then they molest them at a rate that's almost fucking ungodly. White offenders commit 76% of all hate crimes, targeting Jews, Muslims, LGBTQ folk, and black families sitting on their motherfucking porches. Fuck savage people. We do have a problem. White networks traffic 93% of America's fentanyl, flooding our streets with that fucking poison. It kills 200 Americans every single fucking day. White executives commit 68% of corporate fraud, stealing $600 billion with a B dollars a year from your pensions, your social security, and your fucking paycheck. White youth commit animal cruelty at 3 times the rate of black youth, torturing pets, shooting spot in the head. Probably got that shit from Kristi Noem. Burning wildlife alive and filming it for fun and posting it on social media. White supremacists commit 99% of domestic terror murders. Fucking savage motherfuckers. You're right. White people commit 89% of wildlife trafficking crimes, smuggling endangered species while funding organized crime. White collars, white hoods, white privilege, white people in the motherfucking White House right now. Let's talk about criming. This is America's crime crisis. And like your video states, if one race exhibits higher levels of involvement in crime, that isn't racist, it's just a fucking fact. Stop scapegoating black people and look in the mirror, you dirty fucking
I forgot about that video, man. So what he did was, as you like the statistics, and the thing is, oh boy, Charlie Kirk is one of the people who runs with these type of statistics.
Yeah.
Where black people, African Americans, Americans of African descent, or whatever, indigenous Americans, however you want to put it, they are 13% of the population, which were more than that actually, but let's go with that 13% of the population, but commit 50% of the crimes or more than that. And you know, they will go in all these different numbers of not the crimes in general, but they'll say violent crimes, or they'll put certain types of crimes in there.
Yeah.
And so what this guy did is basically he cherry picked all the crimes that white people do. So I mean, it's a little bit of satire, but the thing is, it's like we say, a study you can get it to say whatever you want about whoever you want. You know what I mean?
If anybody ever has taken a statistics class, and I'm just talking about introductory statistics, you realize that you have to actually know what's behind the numbers to actually see if they're reliable. And we can go back to like, okay, we're a man's world, and we'll take a little red pill analogy where they talk about how men make more than women, right? And what's the statistic they use? They just generalize the salaries of men versus the number of men and the average salary of women, and don't account for any other thing that actually causes, right, why men work longer hours, men work different jobs, and all these different things. They don't make it apples to apples. They make it apples to oranges. And then you can make it look like, oh yeah, men make more money than women. There's a disparity there. Same thing with the crime statistics. And I haven't done this myself, but I'm sure if you look into the crime statistics that, you know, where blacks are the minority of the population and they can higher, right there, when you're starting to craft the framing of how you have to present the statistics, you're already basically saying like, this is an apples to apples. Like they're saying, okay, they're doing a proportion of how many crimes that population creates. Okay, well, let's look at it like, what percentage of people of the same income level versus white versus black who actually commits more crimes, right? And you'll see that it's actually more of a income thing or a poverty thing or a location thing rather than an actual race thing. Because I'm pretty sure if you go apples to apples, income level, location, and you compare white crime to black crime, I will put money on that you'll see that more white people commit more of the violent crimes in that same category than actually black people do.
I mean, and it's just like, you know, there's other statistics like as far as how many people the cops kill every, you know, year or whatever, you know, whether it's justified or not. How many times a cop takes his gun on duty and shoots it and somebody dies. That happens to white people more than black people because there's, you know, allegedly more of them. But it's like, and the lesson from this, I think, is kind of like how we were talking about months before, the whole peer review, thing where, you know, it's not saying that these studies are useless, but the thing is knowing how they got to the numbers. And a good study usually will have available the participants, how they gathered the data, you know, and some of the parameters they used. And if you are not able to do that, if you don't know how studies are conducted, how they're funded, you know, because usually it takes money to do a study, especially if you're going to get, you know, from people. Sometimes you can take data from, you know, police reports, even that can be, you know, skewed. You know, you can have data from the crime rates. Whoever's in office, you know, in that city or jurisdiction may want crime rates to look lower. So they may even skew the data. There's a lot of things that can factor into it. But the point is, if you are a person who doesn't know the first thing about how studies are conducted and the parameters and those things, then you probably shouldn't pay that much attention to what a study says, because you could easily be misled. You know what I mean? So, you know, you have to be careful. Usually, if someone is quoting a study, you probably should make sure that this person is non-biased. If they are biased, what is their bias? Are they a red pill person trying to push a certain narrative about, women or men? Then they're definitely going to have found a study that works in their favor, and vice versa. You can look at any other type of person. What are they? Who do they support? What's their angle? And then that study is going to then feed into that. So you don't want to be a sheep and just say, "Wow, look at those numbers," and run with it. You have to be careful. If you can't read a study, and if you don't know how studies are conducted, then you're probably one of the people who gets taken advantage of by these studies sometimes.
And the best way to do it is is to look at multiple studies. It's kind of like how we do in Islam, where we look at an opinion, then we'll look at the opposing opinion, then you compare the evidence. And the best way to kind of, you look at what they're called meta-analysis. That's where they take all the studies on a specific topic and kind of like basically try to combine all the findings and make sense of it. So if you have 100 studies on something, ones that, because I'm pretty sure you'll have studies out there there's a study out there that says, black people commit more violent crimes than whatever. There's going to be somebody that will make a opposing study to try to disprove that. And you see what their findings are. Then they'll go back and forth, and there'll be a bunch of studies. If something's well researched. If something's not well researched and you have a study that like one or two studies on this particular topic, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and just be like, okay, well, this study says this, and if this is true, then we can make these determinations. But to run with it, like you said, these people like Charlie Kirk and all these people that go out and debate college kids, you get grown adults go out debating college kids. They're pre-prepared with all their talking points and all their data and ready to go, and you're just taking kids off the street and trying to debate with them to get clips and make them look stupid. I mean, it's silly. So just use your common sense. And for a white lady to put that up, I'm not saying the statistics are racist, but for you to have the energy, like, I need to post this on social media, I'm going to say that you are a racist. Very clear.
Yes, either very racist or desperate for views. It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's see what we got here next. Is this a video? Okay, let me share again.
These Jones are random. I don't even know which. I don't even know which one.
We'll break them up later. So good. Okay.
Because I'm not a gym girl and I don't go to the gym often, as he quote do whatever, and I have gained weight.
You have. What's the problem? You can't. Well, I'm not sure why you can't understand that you gained weight, and I'm not really attracted to you like that no more.
What do you mean? How though? I just had your baby. So what do you mean you're not attracted to me no more because I gained weight?
You had the baby 2 years ago.
Okay, and everybody just don't snatch back. So what? I didn't snatch back.
You didn't need 2 years to snatch back if you would have got your ass in the gym. It's just that simple.
So that's what it is. You don't want me no more because
I didn't say I didn't want you no more. You got the opportunity to get in the gym.
If you're not attracted to me, you don't want me. You don't want me no more because I've gained weight after bearing your child.
Girl math. That's not what I said. What I said is, when we get to doing it, I'm not really feeling you like I was when we first came in this relationship. Hell, you look way better. I'm just being honest with you. So it's not. You should understand what I'm saying. If I gained weight and you was in the gym, wouldn't you feel the same way?
No, because I love you. At the end of the day, if I love you, then it doesn't matter how you look. What do you mean? I gained, 25 pounds?
So since I love you, I should just be okay with you just gaining 25, 30 pounds and not doing nothing.
He said 25, 30. You're probably being nice with 25, 30.
Feeding your kid. Like, what do you want me to do?
So you can't feed the kids and go to the gym?
You already know I be having too much stuff going on, so why do I have to do all of that? You go to the gym. Like, that's what you like to do. That's not what I like to do.
But you don't
At this
work.
point, you don't like how I look because
I think we get the point on this.
Yeah.
It's really clear that, and unfortunately this happens a lot, and I don't know if they're married or whatever, but it's this. There's a few things going on here. I want to talk about the last thing that popped up with this idea of unconditional love, which I don't think really unconditional love exists, right? All love is like conditional on something. right? What you're getting from that relationship, or what you perceive from being involved in that relationship, or what you get from that person. So he never said, I don't love you. He just said, I'm not attracted to you, which, because of your weight, you have 2 years to lose weight or whatever. You gain 25, 30 pounds. And he's being understanding. Yes, you had a kid 2 years ago. But it seems to me, and I know Mubarak's big on this, he kept mentioning, like, go to the gym, which he wasn't really emphasizing the result, but he was seeming to be more upset about, where's the effort, and that's why I kind of relate to, like, you're not even trying, like, you're not doing nothing.
And so there's multiple things going on here, to where she is accusing him of not loving her because he wants her to, get in shape, and he's making the effort there, which, and then she throws in there that I just had your child. They try to use these things to guilt trip you or whatever, but for him, and this is a like I don't want to say a red flag, but it's a warning sign in a relationship. When you have, it could be with fitness, it could be with education, it could be with lifestyle changes. When you have one person who is really passionate about something, or this becomes part of their identity. When you have that person changes, especially if it's for the better, that other person, if they're not able to match that energy in some way, what happens is they start to drift apart. And I think that is kind of what the guy is saying. He's saying that he's not as attracted to her as before, and that can then translate into that they're, where they were pretty much in sync before, they won't be. And what this young lady should be worried about is that there will be someone, probably at the gym he goes to, who is more fits in line with the lifestyle, or the type of effort that he would like to see from his woman, as far as her fitness and her body is concerned. I mean, you can't dismiss it. You can't just dismiss the fact that he, was attracted to the woman that he married, however many years ago. And if you don't look anything like that anymore, of course, as people get older, and you do gain weight as you get older, if you're not, careful, whatever. Sometimes it's just, you can gain weight and look better. But I think if she was at least going to the gym, or said, I'm trying, then he seems like he would probably be like, yeah, you're trying. But it doesn't seem like she's basically like, take me as I am. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it.
Definitely. Let's go another one here. Okay. This one's not a video, but it's just a post. And it says, divorcees across Kentucky are down 25%, or divorces are across Kentucky are down 25% after a new law set the standard to 50-50 custody. If you have children together, limiting child support. So pretty much in Kentucky, they set a new law that the standard is 50-50 custody after divorce, and which limits child support. I don't wonder how Kentucky child support works, but I'll research that later. But divorces are now down 25%. So now we have the statistics. Remember, we told you about statistics. And so, but what does this tell us? If this is true, what does this tell us? And I think it's very clear that when there isn't an incentive for, well, we won't pick on any specific party, but if there isn't an incentive in a party, in a marriage for divorce, there's less likelihood of that divorce occurring, right? Very, very clear right there. If that statistic is true, that when you remove the incentive, and the incentive being someone normally gets custody of the children, and someone normally gets awarded child support, when you remove that from the scenario, that party is less likely to actually seek a divorce. So,
And you look at the factors that come into play. A person might get divorced because they say, well, I'm unhappy or whatever, and I can maintain my lifestyle, plus find someone else or have that supplementary income from the child support from the other person.
yeah.
So once that's taken away, and you'll see sometimes people stay together because, wow, I don't have any place to go. I can't afford the rent or the mortgage by myself, that type of thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes if you it makes you really look at, can I actually live and stay with this person?
Mm-hmm.
And if you realize you're going to be in a hardship without them, that might make you realize that you actually, need this person. You need each other, baby. And we could go a long time on this particular topic, but it definitely shows how giving one party, let's just be real, the woman, giving the woman money, resources from the man makes it easier for her to just say, well, I'm just going to get a divorce.
Yeah.
And so it's not good for anyone. So this 50-50, at least is a step in the right direction.
So let's put this in context of the advice we give men. So one, you shouldn't be getting legally married right off the top. Shouldn't be getting legally married. But how does this information help the people that, okay, they got married religiously, Islamically, not legally married. So, but you have to realize that whether you're legally married or not, child support and custody and all that stuff can still play a factor because you are the parent of a child and you can still go to court and have all those things involved, right? But it plays into another factor of promoting the idea of the standard Islamic-based marriage and roles and responsibilities in your marriage, right? So like Mubarak said, so when you're a man, you're getting married, you should be trying your best to be in a position where it's a traditional marriage where you are the breadwinner, providing, maintaining, supporting the household. Because when you are in that position, and I guess this can kind of go back to supporting Mubarak's stance of we ain't sharing no bank accounts, we ain't doing none of that. But there's something to be said here of that of the less your wife feels secure and like I'm going to be able to leave and maintain my same lifestyle, or even in like a lot of cases upgrade my lifestyle if I leave, the more chance you have of actually maintaining a happy and successful marriage. So keep that in mind. Okay. We got a video here.
Where Helen Keller started at, I'll let y'all know, bro. About 5 years ago, I was zooted one night off of the yard, just sitting there, zooted. And I seen a video about it, and I just got to thinking about it, bro. I was like, dog, this don't make no sense at all. You meaning to tell me this woman that couldn't see, hear, or talk was able to somehow figure out enough stuff about the world to where she was able to write a book, graduate college, fly a plane, public speaker. You a public speaker and you mute. Okay. Then I started noticing the more people I asked about it, I'm like, bro, nobody can answer these questions. People talk about, oh, well, she learned how to communicate in Braille. Okay, well, Braille is for blind people that can still hear. She can't hear. So how did she learn Braille? She can't. So then they started talking about, oh, well, they were writing in her hand and they taught her stuff by writing in her hand and teaching her what it meant with the objects and different. Okay, how can you do that? She lost everything at 19 months. You are not conscious enough of the world at 19 months to know enough about stuff to where people can tell you about different objects and write in your hand and you put two and two together. You can't do that. Not to mention, bro, that they on here talking about the woman didn't believe in Shakespeare and she was racist. How the hell do you know how did she study enough about William Shakespeare to come to the conclusion she don't believe in him, then figure out a way to articulate this back out to other people? How was a woman who I'm sure by 19 months she don't remember a black person, white person, none of that. At 19 months you go blind and now you into eugenics and you racist, bro? That's what nobody wants to explain how. They just tell you, just believe. Just believe. Be a dumbass. Go to your logical reasoning and believe. I'm not going for that.
Yeah, go into the Harriet Tubman archive.
Yeah. Throw Helen Keller in the basket with Harriet Tubman and the rest of it, man. It's made up. But the fact that she's blind and deaf and is racist has got me.
But yo, I don't know if there's a documentary out there, right? I forget the name of it. Someone has, you guys can help me out in the comments or whatever. But it was about this lady. There's these people that are like disabled and they can't communicate, right? But she supposedly figured out this way where like it's like help guiding, and they would like guide their hand to like a keyboard, and they figured out how to type, right? But these people are severely disabled; they can't control their bodies. She supposedly figured out this miraculous technique. And she ended up cheating on her husband with this disabled guy. It was a black guy. She was white, of course, and something else, but I don't want to say. Right? And whatever, right? Ends up having an affair with this guy. This guy's severely disabled. They show up at the black parent's house, and she's talking for him because he can't talk, can't speak, right? And she's like, he says he loves me and we're getting married. And the mother's like, what? Long story short, they debunked this whole thing. Like this dude was going to college classes, taking college courses, asking questions in class. Basically what happens is the person guiding his hand, they just end up just typing whatever they want. Which reminds me of this Helen Keller thing. It's like, yeah, the people that were communicating for her were just saying what they wanted to say. Yo, they
basically talking to Helen Keller and say, "Oh, Helen, what did you say?" And she's doing this and nothing. And say, "Oh yeah, he said black people ain't shit."
She said nigga. She said he's a nigga. Oh man, yeah, you can't believe everything that's out there, guys. Do a little research, use a little common sense. I never thought about the Helen Keller thing because it's just like whatever, but that is just totally true. 19 months. You're a year and a half old, and you, from whatever memories I know, you figure out how to do all that. Get out of here. All right, this is the last one. We'll wrap up on this one. So it says, man is devastated to find out that his son is actually his little brother after his girlfriend had cheated on him with his father. Oh gosh. Oh man. Man, that's rough. That's rough.
I don't even know how this one got in there. I don't even remember this show.
Well, I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is, again, going back to, the Islamic stance on marriage, protecting your women, not having your women be out all around, all types of, he is your father. And, but I mean, was he a father?
Yeah. Do you remember, like in last week's show, or maybe it was the week before, where we talked about some of those marriage arrangements, where if you're marrying someone older with kids or younger with kids, or some of those things, and we talked about some of the dangers where sometimes if you are younger, if a woman marries a younger man, and then she has a daughter who's his age, she might be in a competition. But this type of situation did not cross my mind. So
yeah,
that could be a problem as well. You can't trust nobody nowadays, I guess.
I mean, the thing is, right? There's a hadith, and I don't know if it's authentic or not, but there's a hadith that says in-laws are like death. Right,
but the father. But this is the problem though. In Islam, the father
is mahram, right?
Yeah, and he's the same as your wife's father. So there's no really like he can treat her just like his own daughter. Of course, like with there's certain natural boundaries there that should be there, but that's not like it's his brother. So. I think
I would love to know more about the background, like relationship between the father and the son, to see how like that is. But I mean, the bottom line is that you got to know who you're around, right? If it's either you know your wife is grimy or you know your pops is grimy, and you should take precaution because
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know whose words. Is it the father or the wife? I mean, they both they're both pretty much the same.
exactly. So that's all we'll cover for this week. Again, if anybody has any questions, comments, we're going to try to incorporate these in at the end of our shows. We kind of covered the majority of the broad topics that we're going to cover on the Man's World. We're going to try to compile it down and organize it and do some more content. But we want people to engage with us, ask us questions, possibly come on the show to talk about any topics that they want to talk about. We can give our insight as well. So, keep tuning in, and we appreciate everybody that is tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, and inshallah, we're going to keep going and trying to help ourselves as well learn and be better men and better Muslim men in this world, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, that's done.